Welcome back to a new episode of Home Built by Howard. This week this episode, we're going to finish the rear shock mounts. And yeah, that's what we're going to get done. As I said before, it's been 2 minutes for me, it's been a few weeks for you. But anyway, if you're wondering what this is and you haven't been following along, there's a playlist. This is my TR6 Restomod, where I'm taking all the internals from a BMW 135 and stuffing them into the body of a Triumph TR6 that I'm going to Restomod. Last week, we planned on getting the rear shocks in and started on the roll cage, but there was just way more than I thought was going to take, and I had to completely build new brackets for the rear shock. So let me walk you through what we did and what we're going to do.
55 hours, 10 seconds.
Okay, so what we did is we made these brackets here for the shocks. I was kind of hoping that the shock would actually reach up into here, but it wasn't quite long enough in its mid-travel, at ride height. So what I needed to do was make these brackets, which we made last week. They're going to get welded into the body and onto the frame here. So they'll be nice and secure. But in order to get the roll cage, when I designed this frame, I designed it so that the roll cage would attach to this. And I if you remember, when I was building this, I put in these nuts, these captive nuts, because I wanted to be able to take on and off the roll cage during the assembly and during the build process, so that, I'd be able to do work around it, not have it solid welded. What I need to do, though, now is I need to bring the body, the frame of this inner fender here, flush with the top of this, and bring it around this piece and back up to here. And I need to bring the inner fender up here down on top of this here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start mocking some stuff up with cardboard, but the outside of this is almost level with this edge here, right? So coming down from that will work. Come around the back, up like this, and around here. Now, the question is, do I want to bring this shelf all the way across here, then bring it down to here and make all of this come in? Or do I want to sort of wrap this around and box this in as a piece, and then just box in here with a piece, which I think probably is the way I'll want to go. This is where the old shock used to sit for the TR6. It actually came down further, but this is nice and solid. I mean, this is some heavy duty. This is actually heavier metal that's been spot welded. And I don't want to take away from the original structure there. The other thing I have to consider is that there is a support in here that supports the rear shelf. And as you can see, if I put it here, right, and we bring it all the way down and around, it is just in front of this. Right? It actually comes at a bit of an angle. So by bringing this shelf, out a little bit and up on an angle there, I'm missing that, which means I can leave that support structure in place. And once my roll cage comes up through here and across, and I bring a bar diagonally down to the top of this, right? I can come in at that angle with it, right? So that's kind of what I'm thinking right now, is box that in, box this in with a bit of an angle that'll match the roll cage, the rear bar, and yeah. And then once I have that sort of sandwiched on here, it means that I can put another plate on top and actually sandwich the body to that. And then what I will do is I will weld this frame to the underside, and I'll weld the top plate or the bottom plate of the roll bar, as the case may be, to the top inside, and that'll just hold everything together even better. So yeah, so let's mock stuff up with cardboard and see where we get, and let's go from there. Okay then, so as you can see, that piece is now in there. So I guess you saw what I was doing with the what should I call it, with the cardboard. You know, like I got this one piece started, right, and brought it around, and then I put another piece of cardboard down low, and I scribed a line using my spreaders here with the marker on it, right? Because what that does is anything the top line does, the bottom line follows. And then I just moved that piece of cardboard up into place and fine tuned it. And then I did the same on the back, right? Where I pulled the piece of cardboard out and scribed a line and then slid the cardboard in. So I ended up with, you know, being able to put these pieces right into the corner. It made my part a little bit big, which is good because it's easy to, you know, to sneak up on it. You know, which is what I was doing just now. And as you can see, I've got it nice and tight all the way around. The only place that needs a little bit of tightening up is in here at the top of this piece to that, but that's fine because once I trim everything out again, I'll sneak up on it and then, you know, it'll get welded into place. So that creates a nice little round piece in there, you know, that I can now cut away the inside of this, and I can then weld this piece into place and know that I'm going to be able to run my upright right here. And as you saw, I made it bigger than the 4-inch tube I got here, so that I've got some space around the tube to actually to weld them all together, right? So yeah, and what I might end up doing is I might end up plug welding it as well, since I'll have the bolts in there, you know, which will give it some extra sort of weld. So basically, I have that the nuts captive in here and welded. This will be sandwiched, and then there'll be a plate on top. And what I might do is drill a plug weld hole through there and weld all the way down into that bolt hole and just plug the whole thing up as well as weld all the way around. Anyway, so that's that. And now you kind of have an idea of what I'm going to do with that piece over there. What I might end up doing is I don't need to come all the way around here, to be honest. I could probably just bring it to like here. As long as I have this top plate here to put my my tube on, it doesn't need to come right to the shock absorber here, right? Because what that means is if I bring a piece here straight up, right, it means that I could put a gusset here and a gusset here, which will help keep this from flexing, right? And then on the inside, I'll actually put like an L plate onto it as well, which will then again keep this from flexing. So that's kind of what I think I'm going to do there, because it really doesn't need to come all the way out here. I don't need to be able to access that bolt from the inside. I can leave it on, you know, the outside of the body, and just make it a little easier for myself. So yeah, so that's what we're got here. I'm happy with that now. Let's get some cardboard onto that and see what it's gonna look like, shall we? I'm sure that was boring to watch, but oh, there we go. That's this piece. That's kind of what I think this one's gonna look like. You know, I guess I could have brought it all the way across to here, but I don't want to cut away any more of the original body than I need to, right? So that's what it's going to be. It's going to sit on top of this piece. It's the same width as the as this piece here. Kind of hoping that, you know, my my oval tube, when I cut it, it's going to be an oval, that it's going to actually sit on that plate. I may actually have to go further back, even though I'd rather not. I've got the room in there, you know, so I probably should have made the bottom of this, you know, longer, and that'd be, you know, I can do that. What I might end up doing is putting that piece in, cutting it, and then, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to take some measurements and see what we're going to do. Okay, let's show you what I did here. So what I've done is, as you can see, I have this piece sitting there, and I was able to, I've trimmed it out here so that there's a flat that sits right on top of this piece here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill some holes. I'll drill probably 4 holes and maybe 1 in the center, so 5 holes. 1, 2, 3, 4 plus 1 is 5. Yeah, 5 holes. And that way I'll be able to plug weld this unit to this unit. But what it'll also mean is that when I put my plate on top of this that the tube's going to sit on, I will be able to plug weld that plate to this, and essentially sandwich and bond the plate to this through those plug welds, and then my tube will go on and get welded all the way around. And I have enough room around. It's going to be a pain to get in there to weld it, you know, especially on the back side, but you know, with the tube on an angle, I'm just gonna do what I can do. Anyway, so that is that, and now I need to cut away the front part in order to put in this piece that we have here that we made earlier. So, you know, to get that adjusted. So let's get a new blade on our cutoff wheel here, and let's cut that open. Okay, so you saw I cleaned that up, and I drilled 4 holes over top of the holes in that bottom plate, and that just centers it. And you know, I've got some, obviously some not perfect fit here, but you know, it is what it is, and we will make it work. We will fill those gaps. um, yeah, so I'm going to actually take this out and open up these holes so that they're a fair bit bigger. That way it gives me a bit more room to weld around the nut, to lock this in place to that bottom plate. Then I'll be able to make another plate to sit on top of this that my tube will attach to, and I will bolt that in until I'm ready to plug weld it and weld it all the way around. So, and that'll give that mounting plate for the upper or the rear roll bar here a solid mount to the frame, like welded right to the frame. And again, I'm not too concerned about being, spot on when it comes to, racing requirements, because this car's never going to be on the track. So I'm not going to worry about making it 6 square inches or anything like that. I'm going to make it as large as this is, because that's what I've got. So it'll just be a 4-inch diameter circle, and yeah, that'll be good enough for what I need there. Anyway, let's get this out and make those holes a bit bigger, and start looking at we have to. I got some other cleaning up to do, I think. Or do I? No, I got all the cleaning up. Basically now I can start to tack weld this into place. So we'll get everything positioned. We'll tack weld it with the MIG welder, and then we will move on to the other side, where there is some major rust around the bolt that is here, the metal plate. So what I'm going to have to do is obviously fix the piece of that, but I'm going to cut away what I need to cut away first, before I worry about it. So yeah, let's move on with that. Okay, so what I did was made up one of these here, again, for the other side of the car, and got the other piece over here. And what I actually did was, and I already cut it out, I just haven't cleaned it up yet. What I did is I made them exactly the same as the other side. I used the same templates. Now, my assumption is, one, that I got this on both sides in exactly the same place, the same height, the same distance from the inside, and the same distance from the front. And what I wanted to do was make sure that, especially with this piece going on top of the shock tower support, that the positioning, the height of the shock tower support, and its location front to back was going to be correct. So I took a measurement on the other side to the front of the shock tower support. I measured to the inside of the swing arm so that I know from the upper swing arm to the shock is the same distance. Put this into place, and the top of this, or the bottom as the case may be, sits perfectly in place. So I know that both shocks are located inboard the same amount, back to front the same amount, and height wise the same amount relative to the upper arm here. And then these ones here, they are close enough, because I know that this here is set exactly, parallel front to back, etc., and that I'm going to mount to that. So I'll still have to grind this down. I have to grind all the way around here and clean up the paint on both sides so that I can tack those into place. But that gets me a lot closer to the car properly sitting under its own weight, because as you know, right now it's sitting on those blocks. All right, so something else that I did. Well, so I went ahead and tacked this into place. I gave it a half decent weld at the bottom there, both sides and at the bottom. And then I tacked it around onto the sheet metal. And then I just spot welded, or sorry, I just MIG welded, this piece into place and this piece into place for now. I don't think I'm going to give a solid line of weld on this on the body, mainly because, as you can see here, this is going to get obviously a tube coming this way, but it's also going to get a tube going across, and I'll likely bring it up and go across and then down so that I'm going over top of anything that I want in here and tuck it up here. But what that's going to do is it's going to keep this from flexing in and out because it'll be pushing against the other side. As well as I likely will have some kind of an X going through is part of this here as well, which will definitely support it. So yeah, that's kind of what I've got done there. I still have to do the other side, and let's move on with that. Well, let's take a quick look over here. So I got this one into place as well, and again, I welded everything there so that it's going to hold really nice. There's still gaps, like obviously this I shouldn't have cut out, but I did. And I have, I got some small things to fill, but that'll all get done on the, when I finish it up. So that pretty much does that, where, what I wanted to get done on this. So it is at a place where, as you can see, I can bolt down a roll bar, etc. And until I get a roll, get started on that roll cage, I don't want to lock anything down because you know what happens, right? You start on the next piece and then you have to go two steps backwards because something isn't right. I think I did all my measurements right. I hope I did all my measurements right, but it it looks good. I think that the roll bar is going to look really nice. Coming in and across and then and down here. So yeah, I guess getting the ball rolling on that's gonna have to happen sometime soon. Well, anyway, that is all the time I've got this episode to work on this. I got done what we set out to do. We finished the rear shock mounts. Really happy about how structurally rigid those are, and how snug they fit in there. It looks good. I think it looks okay. Like it's not perfect, but I think that it's a pretty good job, what I've done there. So, anyways, thank you so much for sticking around. I really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. That helps. Put in some comments. I really like to hear what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. What I could have done better. Always trying to learn from people who may know more than me, everybody, when it comes to this sort of stuff. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.